Hi everyone. Hi
Hey,
Tony.
hey Gerald. Hey everyone. Today we are going to talk about DAO. Well, we're going to talk about DAOs, but we're also going to talk about now DAO. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, but I'm going to refer it strongly to the creation of cooperatives or a cooperation. So I call it a decentralized autonomous cooperation. Um, you know, so without further ado, I'm going to bring up my screen and share my slideshow which I've created, and just get that off there. Okay, that's visible, is it, Gerald? You can see that, Gerald?
Yep. You can X out the right hand side, I think, and then it'll make it bigger. Or just play screen slideshow. Yeah,
Yep,
from the
yep.
beginning.
Right. I'm on the slideshow. Oh, yeah, there
No,
we
no,
go.
not yet. Not yet. Start your slideshow from the beginning. Click
It,
slideshow again.
it is at the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Now play. Play from start.
Oh, I see.
So
Right.
from the left. Yep. Good.
Right. So the way I see it, we're moving from a world of centralized corporations to decentralized autonomous cooperations. So this is a discussion on how new online technology code of the blockchain can create real offline advancements in community health, wealth, and freedom. So that's um, so now this is. I'm going to just do a bit of a comparison between what we've currently got in the mainstream legacy system and what's possible with a DAO or a DAC, as I call it. So in a corporation, the corporations are really we are really in a corporate world. These aren't just corporations too. These are cartels. These are basically the whole world is a one giant monopoly, and we have the illusion of all different companies, but they are all subsidiaries or they are all tied to a giant parent company or a series of parents, including the Federal Reserve, BlackRock, Vanguard, and there's a couple of others, Fidelity, State Street. So these are the super corporations at the very top, and then we have the other corporations controlling our food, energy, um, pharmaceutical. Banks obviously are the key one, and a number of others. So these are all basically centralized, and it's a one-way street of funds. So that means the money is basically going one way from our pocket to these corporations, and then it goes through a series of levels, and it finds its way right up to the very top. Whereas in a DAO or a cooperative, a decentralized autonomous cooperative, it's going to be obviously it's decentralized, and it can create a circular flow of funds amongst the people. You could say that there is a circular economy in this corporate world, but that's amongst all the corporations. So we need to break open that chain, and we need to start channeling funds in our own circular economy amongst the people. In a corporation, you have the key shareholders, and they get the majority of the profits. So you have, and often the directors are often the key shareholders, or you'll have these huge shareholders that usually get in on the ground floor without any invitation to the people. They call it, you have to be a registered financial, not registered. You have to be you have to have a certain amount of wealth. You have to have a certain, like often it's around at least $1 million. So you have to be a certified financial investor. That's the problem. And so these guys get first dibs. And whereas in a DAO, you're going to have all members or token holders get equitable distribution of the profits. And so in a co-op, you're going to get the opportunity for co-ownership. In a corporation, these key shareholders make up the majority of the voting as well. Therefore, customers are totally dependent upon the shareholders. Whereas in a DAO, all members get one vote. And in the world that I see, no matter what your investment is, you still get one vote. I know that a lot of the DAOs, they're still a little bit top heavy to the bigger investors. And this is something that will obviously have to get worked on as time goes on. Not all of them are going to be great, and not all of them, they're not going to be great from the outset. So this is where it needs some time for these to evolve. And with a DAO, we can get self-governing, and obviously it is in the name that they're autonomous, which means free acting, independent, ability to think for yourself. That's what autonomous means. And all customers can also be the investors as well. So we can invest on the ground floor, we can crowd invest these, and we can also be a customer or a consumer of the product as well as an investor. So there's a very key difference there. In a corporation, they often act as intermediaries. Therefore, fees and expenses are high, and i.e., with the banks. The banks are a classic intermediary. They are intermediating between us and corporations like the Federal Reserve. And I call the Federal Reserve is a corporation. It is not a government organization. And then you've got other top brass like the Bank of International Settlements, the IMF, these, and then big investment banks like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. These are also in America. They are also right at the top of the tree. Or what happens is these corporations create other subsidiaries pretending to be different organizations, but they are also clipping the ticket. They are also collecting fees, and so really it's still going to the same collective bunch, but it has the illusion that there is some competition there, which is absolutely an illusion. So whereas in a DAO there are no intermediaries, or middlemen. Therefore, members get to share in the fees, or the fees are very low, and or in some cases there's no fees. And also, a feature of a corporation is they're part of the existing legal, political, and financial system. In other words, they're a key part of the matrix. And whereas in a DAO, they are outside or parallel to the current system. And also with a corporation, the word corporation, the word corp comes from corpse, which obviously means a dead entity. However, the corporations now, through the legal system, have more power than a living being. And so it is a completely upside down, inverted situation. It's basically a dead entity, yet this dead entity has more power than us. And I might add too that, with the central banks and all of that, they sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. So I'll move on from that. So within a DAO, we obviously have we have us. We are living entities, and it's really a living ecosystem as well. So it's made up of real people, and really we have been completely divested of our power. And this is a way through the money system. It's sucking out our money. It sucks out our energy, and so we need to get our power back. And it really starts at the ground floor, which is where the economic system is very key. It's absolutely key to us getting our full sovereignty back. So within a cooperative, these are the key principles of a co-op. And a lot of these are very similar to or the same as a DAO, which I find is very interesting. So they're open and voluntary membership. However, within that membership, certain responsibilities must be met. With this, with more power comes more responsibility, or with more wealth comes more responsibility. And in this new world that is opening up, we all have to step up. There is going to be more responsibilities. If we're going to manage our own wealth, we're going to manage our own money, we have to also have the responsibility to go with it. Within a co-op, you have democratic member control. So it's a membership controlled system. And I put in there, one member, one vote. So no matter how much how much you have invested into the co-op, everyone should have at least just one vote. Members' economic participation. So obviously, there are going to be people putting in more funds than others, but within the capital or the equity or the assets, either some or all of that remains common property to everybody. So that's a very important fact. So the assets can't be siphoned off to the big boys. That's a very important fact. And within cooperatives, you have autonomy and independence. And this is exactly what a DAO is supposed to offer. And so there's very much a similarity there. So, and autonomy is really what's going to bring us freedom. Also, in cooperatives, or certainly in the cooperatives that I envisage, there will be education and training, and this will be ongoing to enable members to be responsible and understand the operation they're in, and to understand the the assets and how the system works. This is where we have a lot of problems because people are not educated, or their understanding, their knowledge is not up to par, and so this allows the situation we've got in the world where people can take advantage of that. So obviously, in our current system, the education and training is all geared towards the current system and just really training people up to be good managers of what we've currently got. Also, within cooperatives, we need cooperation among cooperatives. So we can interact with other co-ops that are created, or co-ops could be created in we could have one umbrella cooperative, and then there could be local, regional, national, and international structures, all under the same cooperative agreement. Or you could have other co-ops which you could interact with to swap notes and that sort of thing. So this is another key factor of how the world could look as it expands out. And if you look in 10 or 20 or 50 years' time, cooperatives could end up kind of swallowing the world, really. And I think this is what eventually will happen. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. And cooperatives, a good cooperative should have concern for community and environment. And with that, there needs to be some giving back to the society and to our world. And this is one area that I think is often missed out in our current setup. And I think it's very important for true sustainability is having that option. Then we've got different types of co-ops. And in the world today, there's really 5 main co-ops. And there's the consumer retail cooperative. It's where people sort of band together and they form a co-op, a buying co-op. Say they want to, there's organic co-ops and there's different buying co-ops. And by simply pooling your resources, you can get better buying power. Or sometimes they set up a retail store and they get different members to run the store, and then those other members can go to the store and you can get good pricing and buy what they want, and they're buying from their own member organization, so there could be benefits coming back that way monetarily. These are a common co-op, but they're quite limited and they're quite narrow in their operation. And then we have producer marketing co-ops, where forming a co-op to produce something from scratch. And again, it's very similar, but just pooling your resources into a different arena. It's really focused on creating and producing stuff from the beginning, and then marketing it. And then you can have worker co-ops, where, like with a business, you could all the workers have a profit share from the business, or maybe co-ownership opportunities, that sort of thing. And you can have housing co-ops, and you can have service cooperatives, sort of focused on a specific service to community. But what I'm imagining is that we could have a co-op that incorporates all of this by simply pooling everything together, and this could be done on a decentralized autonomous co-op or a DAO. So the difference here is that it's based on the blockchain, uses a crypto token as the shareholding, and can encompass online or offline businesses or both, such as our EvoRich organization. And so therefore we get co-ownership of all the capital equity plus equitable cash flow payouts based upon token holding responsibilities and work. So there's a lot of other details that would need to be worked out here. I'm just sort of giving a bit of an overview. But it's with the advent of the blockchain, this has opened up opportunities everywhere, but it has really opened up the opportunity to create cooperatives very easily because of the nature of the technology, which I'm going to go into in more detail there. So models, and why are they vital for true sustainability? Well, when we have a good model, then we can galvanize around that model, and obviously the blockchain is the key model we're looking at here. But also, I'm just presenting this model as the model of the model, if you like, is that within a good model we'll have the context, and the context is the 40,000 foot view. It is the big picture. It is the long-term goals. It is it's all about where we're going and the current landscape, and looking at it from above. Imagine you're above and you can see the whole landscape. This is very important for us to be able to understand what we're getting into. And and also in applying to this situation, the context is all the people investing and working in co-ops, and all the people in the world, that is, and all large groups of people or nations. So like a whole country could effectively go as a co-op. It's not out of the question in the long term. And then we can create our own circular parallel or parallel economies within that. So that's like a big, massive viewpoint. This is the vision, is to imagine the whole world as a co-op, as the ultimate context. And it's definitely possible, because now that we've thought about it, and now that we have the technology that could sustain it, it's absolutely a ultimate goal that I think is worth aspiring for. Then within this model, we also have in the middle here the concept. So we have many different concepts or ideas. It's just ideas about what we can achieve as our mission. And I've just put one example here, that blockchain and DAX or DAOs can provide our energy and wealth freedom. So, it's absolutely possible, because with blockchain creating the ability of passive income through decentralization and providing passive income provides us with more energy to focus on what we really want to do. It's providing us more wealth, and therefore it's providing more freedom in the physical world, but it's ultimately going to translate into more freedom on every level, including the spiritual side of things. So there's many other concepts we could have. We could, like for instance, passive income is a concept we can get. The voting aspect. I mean, there's many different aspects to it. So, and then we have the content. So we can't create these big views and the big picture, and we can't really entertain these ideas unless we have the infrastructure and the technology to be able to support it. This is the foundation. Everything happens from a good quality foundation, and it will involve technology, and it involves good systems as well. And this is like, how are we going to achieve it? And this is also what we need to build in order to achieve it. So this is like the manifesto. This is the code. The code is the key content here. And just like the code in our bodies, our DNA, it's totally invisible, and we don't even think about how we even got here. We don't think about how our body and our mind works. It's sort of like hidden in plain sight. So we need to sort of contemplate the content. We need to understand how it's created. So then we know what the outcomes are likely to be when we test and measure this infrastructure, this technology. Then the proof will be in the pudding. We will know how good it is by its outcome and how it's serving the people. And so this is where we need to trial and measure things, and we need to maybe refine the technology. We can know that some things won't work, so we'll get too busy and keep refining it. And this is where the open source technology, or the open source nature of the blockchain, is a key way that we can do that. So so that's kind of just a little bit of an overview of this model. And then, so now we can go more into detail about this content and the protocols or the coding. And this is really where this is the cause. This is where we're causing how the world is going to look like, how our business is going to look like, how our life is going to look like. And so really, we have a saying: the value is in the protocol, the value is in other words, it's in the code, um, and the blockchain, because the blockchain is the protocol. It's not in the price, or it's not in how the project appears, or the marketing. They can have slick marketing, and a project can have all the bells and whistles on the surface, but if it's not actually providing the value to the people, then it's just really just another illusion. So value is intrinsic, and it is self-evident over time. So but the inherent value is in something that we can't see, we can't touch, and so it doesn't get thought about. We're always focused on the surface. We focus on the surface, and then we don't even think about what's under the surface. And so this is where I want to touch on that, to make us aware that this is important. Well, obviously, we're not technician types, or a lot of us aren't. But those that are, this is where we need to get their counsel, and we need to understand at least the basics. And likewise with humans, our value is in our DNA code and our cellular structure, not necessarily our physical body or our material world, or the money, or anything like that. Although in saying that, our body is obviously very vital. Our material universe or world is very, very vital. But we need to know how it's come about, and we need to know what makes it tick, and what's serving us. So that's very important. And like I say, everything is code. Even nature has a code, and we're a part of nature as well. Knowledge and understanding on deciphering codes is also key to unlocking value and navigating life. So a lot of us don't have the knowledge how to understand codes. But like I said before, we have technicians, we have technology experts who can help us do this, who also have the right consciousness to evolve the world, people who are technicians who actually want to help the world. These are the people we need to interact with. But deciphering or decoding is very important in this situation. And our current legal, financial, digital complex is a classic example of how codes can create unhealthy outcomes. Um, they too use codes, but they're just codes that are self-serving. They're creating centralization. They create one-way avenue where money is flowing from our pockets to them, but there's nothing coming back. That's the problem. There's no circular economy between us on the ground floor and them at the very top. And And protocol in computer science means a set of rules or procedures for transmitting data between electronic devices such as computers, or it could be phones, or anything else. AI can be used in nefarious ways if programmed in such a way to be harmful, such as transmitting our data to the central command in a one-way system. Whereas now we have AI in the form of a smart contract, which is far more beneficial, and it creates a circular environment where money, say fees from a liquidity pool, come to us. It's divvied up, it's distributed amongst all the token holders, and then we might then redeposit some of those fees back into the token, and then it's creating a virtuous cycle. And so a good, well-coded smart contract is a perfect example of how AI, because it is basically AI, self-learning program, that can be used for benign, um, harmless ways, and beneficial for us. And now, when we're thinking about all of this blockchain, these codes, this is going to create tokenization and digitization of everything. Everything in the world is going to be tokenized and digitized, whether we like it or not. The ball is already rolling. The technology is already there. There's already enough people in the world that are desiring it. And now, with the advent of Corona and all of that, the powers that be are going to make sure that they're going to roll it out. They're going to roll this digitization out as that's their solution. Now, we can't stop that. All we can do is try and harness the same technologies and the same energies that they're tapping into, and try and make sure that we make it for as beneficial for us as we possibly can. And this is where we need to wake up. This is where we need to wake up, and we need to get aware of the program. So within this tokenization and digitization, and certainly when it comes to co-ops and DAOs, security tokens are going to be very important, because it is a corporation of a type of a cooperation, or a cooperative that is going to have the intention of making profit. Although that profit is going to be distributed amongst all the members, it's still a security because it's profit bearing, it's profit making. So this is something. I'm just sort of putting out a few bit brain dump here. It's just things that we're gonna see, and we've got to think about. And so, because of this tokenization and digitization, regulation will drive innovation. So that can be for, again, for harmful or harmless um, purposes. So we've obviously got to make it as beneficially innovative as possible. And I think we're seeing that hugely right now, especially with what the SEC is doing. It is driving people more and more to innovate for better systems. And in this, data protection is key. Data is the new oil. You know, we've come through the industrial age and the information age, and these oil was once the who controlled the oil controlled the wealth, as the saying went. Then it was who controlled the information that controlled the wealth through the internet. Now it's who controls the data, our personal data included, that it has the wealth. You know, we've seen that with Facebook and selling our data to the I think it was called Cambridge Analytics, and now we know that Google and Facebook and Twitter are selling our data to all those corporations, and those corporations are now selling stuff back to us because they know exactly what we're doing. So this is why we need data protection. It's paramount. And then out of this digitization, NFTs are going to have come out of this, and they're going to offer much more than just digital art. NFTs are the forerunner to tokenization of everything. The ultimate road to 100% token economy or tokenization of everything is really starting with NFTs, and it is also with the obviously creation of a crypto token and decentralization. It's really happening at lightning speed now. And when I say token, a token in its meaning, the word token, we used to say, oh, this is a token of my appreciation. So a token is a symbol of it's another way of saying money. If I'm giving you a token of my appreciation, then you're giving an exchange of energy, and that can be appreciation, not depreciation or inflation. We don't say, "Oh, I'm giving you a token of my inflation or my my de depreciation." Sorry, I just had a bit of a mind fart there. But anyway, yeah, this is what tokens and money is for. It's an exchange of our appreciation, and it can appreciate or depreciation. So for some reason, I can't get that word out. So anyway. The metaverse is now this is all interacting with the metaverse. We haven't yet seen it in its full flight, but it is getting built out at lightning speed. And I've just put here, this could be 5D versus 5G. So 5D is obviously I think this is a very close these terms are very similar, and I don't think that's by accident. Actually, I think that the 5G is a way to what they love to do is they love to use terms and hijack positive terms and turn them into something negative, and which makes people run a mile. So like the word liberal. Liberal means freedom, and it's then we have the Liberal Party, which is anything but liberal. They are basically, it's all about enslavement. So these are how they hijack good words and turn them and bastardize them. And I think this is what's going to happen around this metaverse and around anything with AI and artificial intelligence. This is what they're trying to do. This is what's happening now. So we have to be very mindful of words and their meanings, and we have to somehow put the reinvert the words so they go back to their original meanings. Um, so what's happening here? A new digital economy is coming, whether we like it or not. It's up to us to ensure it doesn't become another parasitic system, which is exactly what the system we've got now. It really is a parasite, and it's important to stay grounded in physical, natural reality while we're navigating this digital world, and not get lost in superficial, artificially fake worlds. So, whereas I love the advent of this technology, it's not the be all and end all. We need to have a life outside of this digital world. We need to interact with nature, and then we can seamlessly move in and out without it sucking our energy. I think that's really important. So now I'm going to go more into more detail around the concept of creating freedom using decentralization and DAOs and the blockchain. Um, so yeah, we've got this term DAO, which is a really cool thing, or as I call it, a DAC, a decentralized autonomous cooperative. But I think we're going to see lots of other aspects of it, like a DAG. We could have a decentralized autonomous government or governing body. We could have a decentralized autonomous society. There's another way, and we could even have decentralized autonomous, you know, sports, if you like, a membership to a sports group, or a local community. Anything could become decentralized and autonomous. Those are the two key words, and then we could add on the end of it whatever we like. But this is not out of the question that our governments, not only could they be greatly reduced in size because of this autonomous technology, but they themselves get swallowed up, and then it means a whole lot less of these people who don't know anything about how to run a government, let alone a company. We just need to reduce the government. We need to get it so that we can trust it again. And this is what DAOs ultimately are about. They can be, if you trust the code, once it's proven, you can trust the code, and we don't have to trust people again. And which enables us, so I think will create the irony is that then we can truly start trusting people again out of this, because it frees our mind up. We don't have to second guess ourselves anymore. So a new system based on superior software coding that is trusted and predictable to allow you to get on with what is important in your life. It's basically what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. And decentralization can mean the following: being your own banker, no middlemen, distributed wealth amongst everybody, passive incomes, low, no, or distributed fees, crowd investing opportunities on startups, and much, much more. And autonomous means self-governing, self-regulating, self-responsibility to create and think for oneself, exercising discernment and awakening to freedom. Body, mind, and soul autonomy, critical thinking and empathetic feeling. Independence leads to interdependence. And that's where we need to go as a world. And cooperation, cooperative, or co-creative because I see them all very interrelated, means the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. However, each part, being each like us individuals, or the technology, the code, if you like, must evolve in consciousness to realize this. We are strongest when we are united. However, unity with one's own inner self is the only way through, and we must go through, not around. We can, with this current situation, we have to go through, and we cannot circumnavigate what's currently happening in the world. And the best way to do that is to go within ourselves. So the cooperation will lead to the majority rule. It just takes time. The technology, not sure what I've made a spelling mistake here, but the technology of blockchain has enabled this possibility because it frees one's mind, wealth, and time to focus on your true purpose, building community through communication. It's very interesting that the words community, community has the word unity in it, and it's very similar to communication. So that's what is key, and I'm going to go into that in the next slide. And I put here also entrepreneurship, or what I call ecopreneurship, creating business vehicles for self-sustainability, true sustainability, not basically what the UN is promoting. And here, this word symbiosis or symbiotic, this is a very important thing. This is what happens in nature, symbiosis. And the opposite, I call parasitism. So the current world and system is like a parasite. It's, in other words, feeding off us. It is feeding off our energy. It's feeding off our money. It's feeding off our feelings. It is a system that feeds off even off our angers and our fear and all of that. This is what keeps it alive. And parasitism is when one organism lives off another at the other's expense. Exactly what's happening now. The current world system is also known as a Ponzi scheme or hierarchical matrix. A hierarchy is a system in which members of an organization or society are ranked according to relative status or authority. Now, I'd say there is a type of hierarchy that exists in nature, but it is a self-promoting hierarchy. It is a consciousness promoting hierarchy. Now, that is a totally different type of hierarchy. So I just wanted to make that point. This is a man-made authority according to your status or authority. In other words, how much power and money you have and things like that. So there is definitely a distinction to be made there. And nature exhibits symbiosis or a symbiotic relationship, an interaction between different organisms living in close physical association to the benefit of each and all. We are nature. However, when we are not conscious of our innate natural reality, we can succumb to things like parasitism. So, yeah, I just thought that was important. The natural aspect is another aspect of foundation as well. So then we come to the context, and our context could be a new economic and social evolution into a new world of freedom. This is the big picture thinking that I am entertaining here. And freedom is our birthright. Free your mind. As I said in the Matrix, free your mind. But I also say free your energy time, and wealth. We need to free all of these things to truly, truly be sovereign, working together for the greater good. Sovereign means to be aware of who you are and your purpose as well. This is very important. Building ecosystems is the new way, not just a system, but an ecosystem. In other words, an economy is based on nature. In other words, systems that are based upon nature's principles and laws. Nature's law, nature's principles, universal laws. We cannot leave this out of the equation. Evolution and organic growth is the path. A well-functioning society is one in which everyone is able to flourish in health, wealth, and soulful joy. Consciousness and conscious creation is the key. And on that note, I call these the three key C's, from freedom to freedom. So what I call freedom is my version of the Trinity, and I will mention this a lot. I can make many different trinities. This is just one that sprung to my mind that's very relevant to what we're talking about here. But we have so many different trinities that could be valuable for us. You can make up your own or what's important to you and your values. This is three key ones that I thought was important for this particular topic that we're talking about here. And this is where I bring in communication. Communication to me means to come into unity as a group, as a whole, as a society, and we can do that through code. Code is a type of communication. Words are obviously communication, and they could be written or spoken. And when I put here written in the form of things like smart contracts, like any contract, but the ultimate form of communication is spoken. Just like in the ancestral lineages, the older generations would always speak the truths to the younger ones. The truths of the ancestral lineage would always be spoken, and then they said that then it could be unbroken and no one could subvert it. So I thought that was a really interesting thought. Also, communication can be via thoughts, feelings, and even in action as well. It says actions speak louder than words. And with community, we need autonomy. We need autonomy in the community. And that's where the autonomous aspect comes in. So working together independently and freely, but with common overarching goals for the world and humanity as a whole. So we're not just working as independent units and to hell with everyone else. This is where we've got to be interdependent, not codependent. And then conscious co-creation. I put these two together because to me, consciousness brings creation or creativity. But it's co-creation because we're co-creating with each other, and we're ultimately co-creating with the divine intelligence or spirit as well. So this is where encompasses our spirituality, mindset, truth, action, freedom, love, and creativity. These are all key aspects of consciousness. Natural laws and principles, absolutely important, as I've already mentioned. This is where science and spirituality meet. I think science and spirituality have been divided, but ultimately they will come together. And we need to work and create with a purpose and embodiment of the elements and in imagination. This embodiment is very important. We can't just speak the truths. We can't just write the truths. We can't just talk about freedom. We can't just talk about consciousness. We've got to actually embody it. And this is where the rubber really hits the road. And I'm going to write an article about this embodiment aspect. So, embodiment of the elements. What do I mean by that? Well, we need to embody these. I'm talking about elements here interspersed, but we can think about lots of different elements. The mind is an element, the heart is an element, but ether is an element, fire is an element, water, earth, and air. These are the prime elements. And out of those come other elements, like I said, like mind and feeling, the elements of feeling, if you like, or heart. Um, the elements, these are the key fundamentals that make up our whole entire life. And I say here, and imagination as well. We have to imagine the world that we want. Imagine means imagination. If you break up the words, imagine means to image something. And if we imagine it collectively, we can create the nation that we really most aspire to. That's the collective community. So, to sort of wrap this up, in the post-COVID world, why is it driving people into, I'll put potentially a better system, world, and paradigm? Because it is now, because we are under a lot of pressure. This is when human beings operate probably at their best. And certainly there's a lot of angst in the world, but eventually under pressure comes creation and creative ability. We humans are ultimately creative. Artificial intelligence is not creative. The key psychopaths that are at the very top of this world, they are not creative. They are simply rote thinkers who simply want to create repetition in what they're doing and get us to follow that. That is not creative. We are creative beings, and that has been demonstrated now. And I think we ain't seen nothing yet. I think a lot of creation is going to be coming. We don't know what we don't know. Now we are beginning to know. So when we're in this state of not knowing that we don't know, that's obviously a low end consciousness. And people have become absorbed in their pleasures, and they've been absorbed in their doing what they do and being consumers and that. Well, we need to break out of that. And we wouldn't have broken out of it if we didn't have the COVID experience, I believe. Now we are beginning to know. We are beginning to know that we don't know. And then we ultimately move from we know that we know. So we are on the move now as a collective. And awakening is forever. Once you awaken, you cannot go back to sleep. Even when you die, you take everything that you've learned in this life with you. So awakening is infinite, and we cannot go back to sleep. Now that once you've seen something, you cannot unsee it. And that goes with what's happening in the world today. It's why I say it's important. We should know the playbook, but once we know the playbook, then we get busy with the solution. Don't focus on every little detail about who's up who and what's happening. I think that's just sucking us dry. That is sucking out our mental energy. It is making us angry. We're just going around in circles, looking at every little minute detail. It's not important. It's immaterial. We just need to know that there's something going on. It's not good. And now we need to put our energy into solutions. So awakening happens on many levels, hence the need for evolution. So we awaken on the spiritual level or the material level, but we've got to keep awakening on our mental, emotional, and ultimately spiritual levels. So, and this will never stop. It will go on forever. History is being enacted and rewritten. I think it's really important to realize that we are in the most incredible pivotal times and probably probably in Earth's history, actually. And it is literally being played out now. We'll look back in 1,000 years' time and they will write about these times now. And it is being rewritten because history, or the story that we've been given about history, is completely false. And it is another way that they've entrapped us in the matrix. And we need to rewrite it. And it is being rewritten. The truth is coming out. And as we get to know our history, then we can truly know who we are, because we are master creators and we're incredibly powerful beings when we enact our spirit. It's just that we haven't yet done that. But with the pressure that's coming, there's going to be some incredible people that are going to do some incredible things. So labels and false identities are falling away. This unleashes our authentic selves and spiritual fire and energy. We have just so identified with labels, our name, what we do, our work, and all these false labels, false identities all over the place. That has just got to start falling away, and we've got to start putting more attention into what's creating us, not the surface. Comfort is easy, and we won't give it up easy. So this is why, and again, why we need the pressures, why we need to have some uncomfortable times now to make us shift in our perception and our out view of the world. The system is crumbling because the controllers themselves are crashing it. At least partly they are, because they need to crash it so that they can move us into their new system. However, this transition that we're going is an extremely dangerous time for them, as well as it is for us. So this is, as Klaus Schwab said, there's a narrow window of opportunity, but they're going to see it's only a narrow window, and it's only a narrow window for us as well. So, but it's in this transitional time when true opportunity can come, but also it is also very dangerous. So, however, it is in full swing now. So, another thing that's playing out is what they call complexity and game theory. Complexity theory says that when a system gets to a certain level of complexity, that means that like one little tiny thing could happen that is very unexpected, that could literally implode the whole shebang. The whole matrix could come down very, very quickly when one seemingly random thing happens. But because the system is so complex and it's so interrelated to everything else, this tiny thing could end up being an massive crash. So this also is something that is playing out now. And game theory as well. Game theory is that, it's like the art of war. The game theory is that when people are warring against each other, they're going to push people into a corner, and it's like it's also been likened to 5D chess, and eventually the game will play out till there's only one move left, and then it's game over. So this is also game theory is played out a lot, and this is why they do simulations on us and all this. This is they love to do simulations, cyber pandemic simulations, pandemic, COVID pandemic simulations. This is all part of their game theory being played out on us without us even being aware. It's also the way that they create predictive programming as well, and we start all believing that what's happening is going to happen. It's a fait accompli. But ultimately, this is all leading to the singularity. Now, this is one of the goals of the controllers, is an artificial AI created singularity where everything, basically, this is their one world government, everything run by AI, all of us, beholden to that. This is what they would love. But there's another kind of singularity that could play out. It's a more organic, natural one. It's what I call the one collapsing to oneness, and this is also playing out simultaneously. So it's kind of like a race to the finish, or a race to the death, if you like, or a race to life, and it's very interesting to watch it play out. This is like science and spirituality. The artificial AI is the science, if you like, and the natural oneness that we all would desire is like the spirituality, and the nature God wins every time because it is preloaded within each one of us. However, it's like sleeping. It's like this. We have this incredible, this code within us it's seeded in us, but we have to water that seed. We have to activate. We have to activate the seed, and again, it's within us. So that's where we need to find it. So, and destiny comes with imagination. As more of us are imagining this, a new earth, a new world, a beneficial world, the more that it will be created, because that's our creative. We are creators, and the more of us that start seeing that, the more of us that start imagining the world we most desire, nothing can stop that. Nothing can stop what's coming. So yeah, so that's basically the end of my presentation. And just so oops, I've got to stop the share. All right. I can't hear you, Gerald. You're muted.
Yes, I muted myself. um, yeah. So, any questions come out of that? I mean, there's a lot that came out of that. Where's your doggy? It's after 5. Well, there we go. That's a good question. The
She'll
door
be
is
wanting to
closed.
get in any minute.
Oh, that really that caught you by surprise, didn't it, Tony?
There's a massive amount there. I mean, that it actually took quite a lot of brain. I actually found that quite difficult to present in some parts because my mind was going on a bit of overload in some
Yeah,
areas,
yeah.
and but yeah, and actually I've got a bit of a headache. But that's this is a huge amount of
Mm,
stuff that's going on in the world, and so I'm trying to capture as much of it I can. But I, we need to sort of all work on our own thing. We're all little cogs in the wheel. We each do our little bit. I don't expect everyone to uh, to try and do
mm,
what I do.
yeah.
But it's just something that I've always thought about the big picture and joining up all the big dots. for so many years, I've become a generalist. That's sort of one of my things, is to look at the overview. I'm not particularly good at technology. I'm not good at details. So that's that's where I'll leave that up to others.
Yeah.
I,
Well,
I'm just
well, folks, we talked about code and things like that and how to get started. Well, actually, it's already started. So people are already creating DAOs, people are already creating organizations, and in fact, they've already created the modules in which you can put together DAOs. So I've been doing some research on this, and so you've already got out there on the blockchain modules where you can create a treasury, where you can create a voting system, where you can create and in the voting system is a system where you can the members can come and propose, for instance, propose projects or propose directions or propose prices or whatever it is, and then everybody else can come and vote on them. So it's a matter of bringing together these modules into under an umbrella, right? Uh, and so the important thing about that, the main thing is to really decide on, well, what is your mission? What is the mission of this organization, this DAO or this DAC? And of course, there is always a human element, right? The code only enacts certain parts of it, the automatic parts. There will always be the human element which has to create ideas and projects, that has to bring here comes a dog, and bring their own opinions of whether they think it's right or wrong, or at least create discussions around where they think things could go. So
say hello to the people.
Hiya. So it doesn't mean that because we are going into code that it's all just going to be completely coded and humans don't need to do anything, right? So it's a way of making it more distributed and more autonomous and more equal. And I think that's what the code is offering us. We have to, of course, come in with our view of the world, with our intentions, with how we want a particular. How do we vote for a different PM? Well, we have to create a government DAO or a DAG, right? And some people might say, well, might have already a DAG, but I won't say anything about that. But So basically, I think there are some states or some councils in the US anyway that have looked into creating DAOs. So a council DAO, for instance, for particular projects. It wouldn't be for the whole council, but they would start it off for a particular sector or particular project. So I think this is something that we could start experimenting with ourselves and build up our experience and knowledge around it and see how it works, and then it can be scaled larger and larger to different corporations. And if we then develop experience in how a DAO works, we can actually take it along to our favorite organization and say, hey, look, this is what we've been doing. Yes, we are thinking of doing that with DeFi Freedom. Not our own blockchain, but definitely it could be our own token and our own DAO, definitely. And then you take your experience of maybe the DeFi Freedom DAO and take it to your favorite charity or your favorite or your local council or whatever it is, and say, look, now this is how this has been working. Would you like to try this out on a particular project? And and this is how it's going to grow. And maybe finally it will grow to the point where people see that, this is possibly the best way forward and the most equitable and effective way. And also, as I said, in a DAO, you've got modules which create a treasury, and that treasury is then connected to a token. And so then we say DeFi Freedom, you would issue the tokens and the members would buy the tokens. Or we would think of a way, well, if you're already a premium member, then you get so many tokens, and then free members can say, well, yeah, I think I'll buy some tokens. And then we sort of get into it that way, and the treasury would belong to all of us. It's not, doesn't belong to anyone. And then you can use that treasury maybe to invest in particular projects, or to fund particular projects, or to just self-fund DeFi Freedom. So the blocks are in place. It's a matter of us maybe, I don't know, sometime we'll talk about it, amongst us, and see about how we can implement it, once we've done a bit of research.
Yeah, we could definitely experiment with our own organization, and then what we could do is then we could possibly help to evolve where DAOs go. This is why I think it's important that we participate in this. Otherwise, if we just sit back and do nothing, the powers that be will just create it the way they want.
Yeah.
And again, we'll end up being on the receiving end of another bloody load of BS.
Well, the reason why we are on the receiving end is we've done things by default. We've given over our sovereignty. We've given over responsibility. And then things happen by default. And when things happen by default, suddenly one day we wake up and say, oh, all my rights have been taken, or all my goods have been taken, all my wealth has been taken.
Yeah.
So we need to, but then of course that needs us to stand up and take responsibility and start learning, participating. Once we set this up, participating, and and experimenting. So Rama asked, would you say that a parallel economy and circular economy are potentially the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Would.
that's right. You
Yes.
can build a circular economy within that parallel economy. Yeah.
One thing I was really trying to get across, one key theme of what I'm trying to present is DAOs are great and they offer this incredible technology. But without the consciousness involved, and without our connection to nature, we will just be creating technology that's
Yeah.
focused maybe at the best. Maybe some of us might get wealthy, or we might get but I still see it as limited.
Yes.
In the sense that there will still be this human nature of dog eat dog,
Yeah.
and trying to get ahead at other people's expense, because
Yes.
some things there's still a lot that can happen with the technology. So my key theme is, how can we add in this giving back, creating a DAO that's encoded that you have to give back.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think about it. It's automated giving back, right?
Yes.
And this is where I think we need to advance, and we can't just look at technology on its own and try and do that with the old thinking of how do we get rich, or how, with a materialistic Darwinistic type thinking.
Yes.
Linear thinking.
Well, we need to get out of what I call old school thinking. And old school thinking, it seems to me, is based on fear and greed. So if you look at all the current dominant systems, whether it's corruption, whether it's corrupt governments or whatever that is not working very well, it's all based on fear and greed. So if we can look into ourselves and see, and we are all subject to that. We are all subject to it because it's been kind of imprinted on us since day one, in school, etc., by our parents. And so we really need to dig deep, as like Tony said, we need to dig deep into ourselves and root it out. The fear, when it comes up, we become aware of that fear, that how it's governing how we do things, how we do our crypto stuff, or how we even work with our MetaMask. Do some of us work Do we have fear when we work with it? Where is that fear coming from? So it's a really good working with crypto is really a great opportunity to bring up that fear and look at it and be aware of it. Same thing with the greed. I know we don't want to be greedy, but sometimes we make decisions based on greed. Sometimes we hang on to particular cryptos because we think, oh, it's gonna go up a little bit more. It's gonna go up a little bit more, and we lose our strategic thinking, and then we get caught out by that. And that's what the whole market cycle is based on: fear and greed. So if we can pull ourselves back from that, then we become smart investors. We invest by researching, by observing the fear and greed, and then we kind of work with that to our benefit. So same thing, same thing with a DAO, like Tony says. What we see quite often with some cooperatives or some eco villages, for instance, is the whole idea is really great, communal living, and then at some point some kind of primitive fear and greed comes up and wrecks the system. So I think evolution of ourselves becomes really important if we are going to take sovereignty and work cooperatively. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate all the complimentary comments.
Yeah.
You, Fenner and Carolyn, for your. I'm glad you like the presentation. It's really cool. And thanks for being here. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And Namoha, thank you. Yeah, where did I get all the information? 30 years of
life.
Yeah. I've lived life by the seat of my pants. I've experienced a lot of things. I've literally, I have traveled the world, delving into ancestral things. And, I've been self-employed for 30 years. That makes you sort of, quite creative. And, I guess, I've always been a bit unusual in that I've tended to go against the grain. I was never easily controlled or conditioned, even as a kid. And so, I guess I'm lucky. Maybe the God gave me a good genes or something.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting time that we are in the world. That's for sure. And really, this is all possibility. This is what quantum mechanics, quantum physics is. It's about everything is possible, and we collapse. The idea of collapsing a waveform into matter. This is what we're doing. When there's enough of us, we can collapse this current reality into something far better. If enough of us are imagining the world, not just imagining it in thoughts, but actually feeling it. Embodiment to me is key. When I talked about embodiment, I had a really strong sort of bodily reaction, actually. I really felt what I was actually writing when I put this presentation together. It's almost like, also I get a lot of help now when I sit down to do a presentation or write. It just boom, it all just comes out in a flood. I can barely keep up with the writing because I'm thinking of so many things at once.
Yeah.
So it's I guess because I've been a writer and I've read so much for so long in my life, this is just something that's becoming natural for me now. But it's taken years and years and years of practice. But anyway, it's it's amazing to be able to share all this stuff, because for years I had it in me, but I didn't share it with anyone for a long time. I didn't feel confident. So thanks to everyone for giving me the platform.
Yeah. And you guys are also going to go out and share yourselves too, because that's what we are here for. This is a leaders group. You might not feel like a leader at the moment, for whatever reasons, but what we are doing is actually creating leadership in that, because once you gain this knowledge and this understanding, you people will then start seeing you as a leader. They'll actually start seeing, wow, so and so is wow, and they'll ask you for your opinion on things, or they'll, no, what do you think? I've got this problem. So, people will start coming to you, and you'll find that yeah, and that just comes out of you're looking into yourself, tapping into yourself, and then tapping into the wisdom that's already there that we all have. So all that wisdom we all have, and once the wisdom comes out, that's when we become leaders, because then we share the wisdom with others who are still on the journey, towards where you're going. So this is a fantastic time for us to build that. There's a bit of a hiatus at the moment. We build our knowledge, we build our awareness of the parallel economy and the parallel possibilities, and then at some point we'll be called to actually participate and innovate and drive that economy. Special device. What? An economy based on a token based on the love vibration, measured by a special device. Yes, we all have the special device. Our hearts can feel other people's hearts, and we can feel other people's love. So whether we can tokenize that love, that's an interesting question. Maybe Mitch, you could take that as a project.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a good thought.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Maggie. Yep. Thanks, Teresa and Angela,
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
and and
Susan,
uh,
thanks very much, guys, for being part of
Rama.
this.
Thanks, Rama. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are a pretty receptive lot. You just about most of you are showing up every week, and that is really amazing. I really love that. And, it's quite a blessing to be able to be in this position. When I think I'm sure Gerald will agree. We
Yeah.
don't treat this. This is not. We don't treat it as just like a business. Yeah, we're not. This is not one-way traffic. I really love feedback, but I'm not doing this to try and just make a business out of it and make money out of it. It's in fact it's the least reason. Obviously we need to receive something, but really I just love the idea of how we can collectively create a better world. That's and how we can all go back into harmony. It makes me sad to see so many people walking around looking so fearful and angry and lost. There's so many lost people out there, and I just like, what can you do with them?
Yeah.
It's hard until they're ready.
Yeah.
Until they're
Yeah.
ready to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah.
They're going to stay that way.
But I think that's where we work on lifting our energy, and then when we lift that energy, people will then start feeling it, and we can actually start offering it to others, and they can feel it, and that lifts their energy as well. And that's the way that's kind of some people who are called charismatic. Of course, some people can be charismatic in a negative way, but I'm talking about where you have it's not really charisma, it's like a inspirational person, and when they walk into a room, people already feel uplifted. And yeah, and that's what we can do to help those people, who are suffering because they think they're alone, they think that the sky is falling on their head, and they are not aware of the alternatives. So I think this is the powerful thing, is what we are sharing with you, is there is an alternative way, and a very powerful alternative way. So yeah, a Metatron is on your shoulder. Okay. Okay.
Well, I actually have Metatron's cube actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an incredible painting, a hand painting, and I love it. Even our little granddaughter, we showed her Metatron's cube, and she couldn't take her eyes off it, and she was laughed, just broke out in giggles at the sacred geometry. So it's pretty amazing. Mm.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyways,
Okay.
thanks for coming. It's been an hour and a half. I know that was quite a long presentation by me today. I didn't realize it was going to go quite that long, but I had to
Mm.
get it out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks, Tony. That was great. And yeah, I'm sure. Well, from the response, I think people really resonated with that and took something from it. Different
Mm.
parts of it, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
that'll help you guys. Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome. All right.
have a
Well, have a great
fantastic
long,
weekend.
yeah,
Yeah.
have a great long weekend.
Oh,
And
yeah. True. Are we having a premium webinar on Monday, or are we? What's
yeah, we
happening
could,
to it?
we, for
Okay.
us, I think we should still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do that. We've got the premium webinar, and after that, we've got the study group. So for the premium members, you in the study. So we'll have a presentation, and then after that, you'll be able to come together in a private Zoom, which won't be recorded. So you can share whatever you like. You can share your wallets or whatever, and then we can actually go through your problems, or whoever's got problems or issues around their processes or anything whatsoever. It's just an open study group. And yeah, so that'll be on Monday. Wednesday, we'll tell you what we're going to do. I think we have to think about it, and then we'll let you know over the weekend. So have a great weekend, and talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thanks all. Thank you.
Bye.
Nice to see you, David.
Bye. Hi, Tahira.